Interesting. I did not expect that. I was just expecting, we're live. Oh, look at that. Imagine that. The power of technology. Welcome, fiends, to Handle a Whiskey, presented by the Slashing Cast Podcast Network. Our show discussing horror movies and the phobias they emphasize. With me tonight, as always, are my co-hosts, Holly, Hooch, and John. And guys, here we are again, Aquaphobia Deep Dive. It's going to be a 2-month affair. And, we kicked things off with some creature features, and that is going to continue into tonight's recording.
Yeah, I'm super excited about tonight's movie. I'd never seen it before. So I made some bets last week that I definitely lost, and I'm glad. So I'm really excited to talk about those.
I thought your prediction was mostly correct, wasn't it?
Was it? Because I thought there'd be, teenagers.
Oh, right.
Well, I also said maybe scientists.
There were scientists.
Oh, they were all scientists. Although there was a lot more eye candy than I thought there would be. So that was pretty great. And there was a little bit more nuance in the whole, turns out it's man. The real monster is man. So that was a lot of fun.
That is true. So just a couple general podcast reminders. We've been doing watch parties via Stream Lounge that is happening on Mondays and Thursdays. So tomorrow we'll be watching Deathgasm on Shudder. That will be at 9:15 p.m. Pacific time, which definitely one of the better zombie movies that we've had in some time, and it's just a riot and a half in that case. And then on Monday, we're going to continue a theme here. We'll be on Tubi, though, watching The Return of the Living Dead and Zombievers. That will be starting at 6 p.m. Pacific time. But, as I mentioned, every week, Stream Lounge is free to sign up with using whatever streaming service you're currently streaming with. It ties into Tubi, HBO Max, Shudder, YouTube, and Netflix, and a couple of others as well. But it's been a great platform for us to use to, just host watch parties and do commentary while we do that, because you can't really do that elsewhere.
Sounds good.
But anyways, so last week, we encountered a cosmic entity 11,000 meters underneath the sea and underwater. And tonight, we're going to the Lagoon. So, Holly, this was your first pick of 3 for the supersized phobia. And, it's been, I'm not going to say it's been a long time since we've done a Hammer film, but, we haven't really touched too much. We haven't really touched too much on, the 1950s.
Right, so 1954, and I was mentioning before how I've never seen this movie. And we can't really talk about it without talking also about The Shape of Water, which I think is a nice little companion piece, or vice versa. So, I watched it, and I was surprised at how well it aged, almost, except for the part where the creature from the Black Lagoon got roofied hard. And I did not expect that. I think I was drunkenly texting you both. I'm like, oh my God, what am I seeing right now? That was a lot of Rufinol.
Mm-hmm. Well, at least they didn't poison the river
they just gave it a headache. Yeah.
They just put everything to sleep in the river.
Yeah, it's I'm just going to wake up with a hangover. And then, let's not jump ahead, but that was one of my favorite parts of all the little fishies are just belly up. And they're like, oh, they're fine.
Yeah, they're just sleeping.
If you want to have your way with them, go right ahead. It's disturbing. But should we, start from the top? Because, there's a lot of, context? No, subtext.
Mm-hmm.
There's text.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's important to note that just like in Underwater, this movie involves a creature's home basically getting terrorized by humans.
Invaded.
So there are a few parallels.
His environment was invaded. Yeah, he's just defending. And also he just likes the girl, he's not trying to hurt anybody. He's just defending himself.
For sure. Although I have to admit, I really loved how at the beginning of this movie, they use that mitt, that glove. They just got a lot of use out of that. So you don't get to see the monster, quote unquote, the monster for a good 20, 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. And all you see is just his big old paw like hurting people, and really getting really close to her foot, but not quite grabbing it.
Some Jaws-like shots
Yes.
in there under the water with swimming legs. And
that was actually pretty cool. I really liked that. At some point, they're in the Amazon, but the lady scientist decides it's nice to go out for a swim anyway. And her white bathing suit, by the way, did nobody else, I'm sure you guys didn't even think about this, but you can't wear a white bathing suit into the river, okay? You're going to have a mucky gray swimming suit after you wear your white suit into the river. That was really upsetting to me. Just because there's just no way it's going to get ruined. But anyways, it was kind of a cool shot where she's like swimming and then he's like in parallel, like swimming with her. That was a neat shot. And then I thought a lot about that stuntman who must have been holding his breath for such a long time.
Yeah. I heard that they ran a hose to him.
Okay.
I read a thing that he could breathe through, that it wasn't a mask or scuba gear. It was literally just a hose with air, and he would just he could like suck air breaths off of it and then hold his breath.
Neat.
But
the more you know.
Yeah. But was holding his breath. Apparently he was one of those underwater divers that could hold his breath for several mintes.
I would hope so, because can you imagine like, oh yeah, we lost like 3 dudes, but we finished the movie, And I have to say, I really like is everybody here like a Venture Brothers fan?
I haven't watched it in a little bit.
No.
It's been a while.
But like the whole like Adventure Boy or I can't remember if that was the term, but the whole just like small swim trunks and like just a knife tucked into your belt, and then you've just got like the small tank and breathing apparatus, and you're just like swimming through the Amazon with your knife. That was kind of cool though. Like that's that's something that's like quintessential sort of man takes on nature kind of look from the 50s, and so that was highly appreciated. And then you got like the 2 hunky dudes who were half naked most of the time, and I thought, hey, 1954. Not bad.
And you even get at the beginning of the movie a very kind of Spielberg beginning where it's archaeologists on a dig who find evidence of a creature, and then we sort of go into it from there. It's almost like the beginning of Jurassic Park a little bit.
Yeah. It is kind of sad when you think about it too, because it's like his paw. I mean, it looks just like
paw sticking out of it.
Yeah, where it's like, wow, was that like his, his family member or his? I don't know. It was just kind of sad when you think about it. Like, are you the last one? Are you the last creature from the last lagoon?
Yeah, I know that sort of raises the issue of, are there other creatures? Is there other families?
No, there's not.
Well, not obviously. If
he's the last of a dying breed.
Last of a dying breed for sure.
That's why he's looking for women.
Oh God. I really enjoyed his cave. His cave was pretty cool. Yeah. Like when he took the girl and he like swims down, just deeper and deeper. I thought like, oh, he's gonna get to a point where he's gonna be like, how did she die? What just happened? But luckily that he's got an underwater cave that, has air, I guess. Yeah, so that was a lot of fun.
And comes out on the beach too.
Oh yeah, that's true.
They went under the water to his cave,
and it was like a
yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
It's got tunnels.
My favorite part was like, for no reason, there's that doctor that gets attacked, and they bandage him up, like a mummy, and he's like laying down getting rest, and he keeps getting attacked by the creature, where like they leave the window open. He just like reaches in, it's like touching him a little bit. Like what was the point of that? I don't understand, but it was a lot of fun. I don't know. What did you think, T?
Yeah, I mean, he was going to break in no matter what was about, or going to try to stop him. So
very well though. They didn't secure him. They put him in the bamboo cage, and they weren't even looking out for him when they knew he was out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was definitely an interesting week though, because on Thursday. It was Monday, I think, that I watched Humanoids from the Deep. And then last night I watched Creature from the Black Lagoon. And then after that I watched Swamp Thing. So I hit like all the creature features back to back to back.
Sure.
Which are, all within the same wheelhouse to varying degrees of smut.
Swamp Thing.
And
Oh, I was just going to say Swamp Thing is a great bad movie. It's an awesome movie. That's for me. When I was growing up, HBO and Showtime were very new, and they would, in the early days of HBO and Showtime, they would show the same movies over and over and over. They had a really small selection, and Swamp Thing was one of those movies they would play repeatedly, and so I would just turn on the TV and it would be on at some point in the broadcast, and I would just watch Swamp Thing from whatever random point.
I'm not sure I've seen Swamp Thing. I know I've seen really Toxic Crusader a whole lot. Is it just
Adrienne Barbeau and yeah,
awesome? I love her.
It was directed by Wes Craven.
Yeah, which is kind of mind blowing that it's a Wes Craven movie because it's so cheesy. It's like a literal like rubber monster mask movie, but it's really good though. And you can see the zipper on Swamp Thing on the back too.
Oh, very low budget. Oh man! So
yeah, it's you can stream it on Tubi.
Oh, I'm gonna check it out then.
For Swamp Thing. Otherwise you'd have to spend like $6 on Prime
No
Video.
fucking way, man. No way. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, not worth it.
That is not worth it. I'll just like could I just wait for it to come back on HBO?
But I love that actor. I can't remember his name. I don't know if you know that French. I think he's French actor who plays the bad guy in Swamp Thing. He's great. He's in a lot of movies and TV shows in the 80s. But he's really cool. But are you looking up his name?
Well, are you talking about like the main army guy?
The Arcane. His name is Arcane. He's sort of I think he has a French accent. He's kind of the main bad guy of Swamp Thing.
I'm looking up, but I was happy. Like, I didn't watch it in forever, so I completely forgot that David Hess was in the movie, who plays a very stereotypical bad guy in that one.
Yeah, is that the guy in the other bad guy in Swamp Thing? Is that the guy from Last House on the Left? Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. Which is great because he's really like hamming it up in that movie. He's like completely over the top.
Let's see. Arcane was played by Ben Bates.
Ben Bates. Never heard of him.
Yeah, I didn't know what his name was. Okay, nice.
So, when we were talking about this last time, you said you sent us this really great video that sort of dissects a little bit the different sort of, I guess, symbolism behind the creature features and how horror movies have always sort of represented as societal anxiety. Ooh, I remember the term. And this movie definitely like kind of kicks that off a little bit for sure.
Yeah, definitely. The Other, where the creature is sort of similar to King Kong in that he just all he wants is the pretty lady, but society or whatever you want to call it is like no.
Well, there's a couple more no's for sure, but it's not just society consent. But but in this video, it was really interesting. Who was it again? That the lady who was in those videos?
Oh, Lindsay Ellis.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. So she talked a little bit about the different sort of approaches to this. So how we talked a little bit how like The Shape of Water, like a really good companion piece to The Creature from the Black Lagoon, if only because there's it's not too hard to be able to relate to the creature in any of these movies, right? So we talked a little bit about otherism, just marginalized characters, and how that's really not something that's there's definitely a demographic. That sounds awful. There's definitely like a lot of people that would identify with that kind of situation. So I thought that was really interesting. Then she goes on to talk about like sort of sexualizing this character that you're already relating to, and of course that's when we start talking about The Shape of Water, and of course finally seeing a creature having a sexual relationship with a human.
Yeah, The Shape of Water is like a reboot of this movie, sort of. Or like a modern retelling, definitely.
I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, like, also, this lady also touched on how there's also that, the such prevalent anxiety of, the honor and purity of white women being challenged by these creatures that you don't understand and that you feel are ugly. So, of course, that whole lot of racism also involved. But I thought that the creature from the Black Lagoon, like they really, I was expecting that to be a lot heavier handed. And the movie actually had a lot more sort of understanding for the creature. I mean, you had like the two main male characters, right, whose names I've already forgotten. There was a Mark. There was a Mark and a David. Mark and David? David being the good one, Mark being the bad one?
I can't remember.
Right? Okay. So, you know, you've got Mark who wants to like kill the creature and take it back. And they're like, hey man, we're just here to collect some fossils. You know, we should really not go in there into the Amazon and try to fight a big old creature. And then of course, Mark is like, no man, that's why we've got the spear gun. And there was, did you guys like catch on, you know, did you guys pick up on that whole, I don't know, there was like sexual tension, not sexual tension, but romantic tension between the female lead and Mark, who doesn't have the girl. And not that I sort of got, I don't know if that was, you know,
Mark was 100% being a cock
but
in
then
the
on top
movie.
of that, there's this one scene where she's kind of making out with like David, or like they're being really cute with each other. And then Mark's like, come on, man, you can play house later. But then he comes out with this gigantic like spear gun while these two are being kind of cozy. And like he's explaining to the dude as he's looking at the couples, like, he's like, yeah, he said something really weird and masculine and like phallic about the gun. He's like, you just point at what you want and shoot. And he's like, what would you? And then he said something, and then the guy was like, what will you target? And he says something like, does it matter? And he just shoots it off into a tree. I thought that was very penis. That was a lot of penis threats. Penis threats. I don't know what else to call them other than that.
Yeah.
But I dug it.
Yeah, I mean, he had to blow the load somehow, you know? It wasn't happening otherwise. Just the nature of how it goes. Which is interesting because this movie literally starts at the Big Bang. So, you know, it all kind of like ties together.
Yeah, that's right. It has intro, right? I forgot about that. I know. It's sort of weird because it implies that the creature is like millions of years old, but it's still alive. But it couldn't have. That's the thing. It had to have a family to keep reproducing, or else it's like the creature itself is like a million years old.
Although it'd be hilarious, like in, you know, the creature part 2, where it turns out that he had a wife and kids, and he was just kind of like stepping out, and
but it
turns out he wasn't extinct.
It did seem to imply, though, that it was the last of.
I guess so.
It's kind of. Oh, another story I read, by the way, is that the director or the writer, I think it was the writer of the movie, but it might have been the director, was friends with, what's his name, Orson Welles.
What?
And that the story of the genesis of the movie is that he was telling Orson Welles a story about how there's a creature in the Amazon that's like a man, half fish, and that once a year it comes out and claims a bride, and that
like
basically Orson Welles and the other people that were hanging out were like, oh, that you're just like full of it, like whatever, ha ha ha, and he got really mad and was like, it's real, like there's pictures, like I have a picture I can show you, and claimed that he really, like, actually had seen pictures and that this creature was a real thing. And then, so that was sort of the genesis of the movie.
That's pretty great.
It's kind of funny. But that is, like, also The Shape of Water. Because isn't that, in The Shape of Water, he's like the creature is like a god from the Amazon who comes out and I think.
But this one actually has powers.
Mm-hmm. But,
yeah, superhuman strength and super healing.
And he glows, right?
Definitely the costume is great, too. That's like, it's one of the best, I think.
You mean in The Shape of Water?
Oh, no, the creature from the Black Lagoon.
It was a little rubbery, but you're right that overall it was pretty good. I mean,
the look of it. Like.
and I was thinking like, oh, like he can't really do much with that fin.
Yeah,
but then I was thinking like, if it was real, he wouldn't be able to do that much either because it's so wide, like a baseball mitt.
Mm-hmm.
Like a bunch of bananas.
And like his flipper feet that are like actual swimming flippers. Kind of, he's like walks like a person in flippers.
So yeah, I mean, like I was impressed that the movie was not. I thought it was going to be have way more old fashioned ideas in it. I thought it was more I don't want to say the word progressive because it doesn't really apply, but you know what I mean, right? I thought it was going to be a lot meaner. How about that? I thought it was going to be straight up like King Kong. So, and well, you know, it was obvious that he was going to, you know, kidnap the girl because that's in all the pictures. But you know, like David was trying really hard not to hurt him that much. Although he did pull like a Rasputin where like he gets shot and he gets stabbed and he gets roofied. And then like at the very end, like, no, let him go. And then he still has the energy.
Yeah, he's been through enough.
But then he still has the energy to like block the boat with. Well, I mean, the shooting and the stabbing happens later, but even after they do shoot him a couple times with the spear gun, he's got the energy to like block the boat with like tree branches. Which after they clear them, they didn't look that serious. But you know, I don't want to judge.
Getting stuck on the river. Yeah, I kept forgetting that they were supposed to be in the Amazon because it definitely felt like Florida the whole time.
It's because they were shot in the
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even in Florida, you're going to ruin a white bathing suit if you take it into the river. I don't care what anybody says. Everglades. But also, it just seems like, am I just too afraid of the Amazon? Do people just freely swim in the Amazon? I thought the Amazon was full of scary fish. Like piranha.
Yeah. And anacondas.
Yeah. I mean, Amazon's one of those places where everything is potentially can kill you in the water, around the water.
She's like, I'm gonna go for a swim.
I know, just go for a leisurely swim.
But I did enjoy the underwater shots. I thought they were really clear. I thought that was going to be a little, you know, harder to see, but like, I don't know. I guess I had a really low opinion of this movie going in. It was really turned around. I had a lot of fun. I thought the characters were pretty great. I'm still freaking out about the sack of Rufinol. What did they call again? Ruptol or?
It's like a rototone or something
like that. I'm like,
yeah, it was rotenone, which is I think it's like very efficient in dealing with fish.
And I mean, well, at first they just
notes.
like sprinkle it by hand, and then you see all these little fish like, you know, going belly up, and then they're like, oh, we should weigh it down because he's going to be at the bottom, and they're like, great idea, and then I don't know how they make pucks out of it, which sunk a little deeper, and that definitely fucked him up. So that was pretty great too. I mean, I still blew my mind.
It is pretty much like King Kong, though, basically. You know, it's like, it definitely kind of fits their model where, you know, like Phantom of the Opera and Frankenstein and even the werewolf kind of, even the mummy, because the mummy also is in love with the woman in the main character. So it's all kind of like, you know, the monster is sort of like the outsider who's like, I just want like a girlfriend.
But she's got to be the head cheerleader. Mm-hmm. Like, did you try even with like the nerdy one? I'm just saying, I'm not offering, but but you know, you're right. I mean, all of these monsters are supposed to be like very empathetic. Mm-hmm. So they're none of like, I can't think of one that was just straightforward. This guy's just super evil, and right there. That was the whole point of all of them.
Yeah, definitely. Even the werewolf and everything, which is actually super depressing. Not on a side note, but I was rewatching some of the old werewolf movies, and like the main character, I forget his name, but Lon Chaney Jr. His whole character thing is that he wants to commit suicide. He wants to kill himself, and that's literally like his entire motivation throughout the movie. It's like, oh my god, I forgot. I haven't watched this in so long, and I forgot that's literally
that's pretty fucking dark.
Like his entire, and he talks about it. Sorry, anyway.
Well, no, that's fine. But you're saying
but yeah, this movie's very straightforward in terms of just kind of being like, there's this thing and we're going to look for it and we found it and then it tries to kill us. And, you know, it's sort of like, there's almost no, like, I guess not, you know, to keep comparing it to King Kong, but it's kind of the same thing where it's just like, there's a character that thinks or, you know, knows that there's this creature and we're going to go find it, and we do find it, and then all hell breaks loose. And
And I mean, like, it's also pretty obvious the whole like the mankind's approach to weird, interesting nature stuff. You've got the one side that wants to sort of preserve it and try to understand it, and then you've got the conqueror side that wants to just tear it down and put it up on the mantle, on which I don't know, like.
Which
heavy-handed, but kind of interesting, yeah.
Which, interestingly, the 70s Piranha movie didn't really go that route, which I kind of would think that they would.
You're right. They, like, just dumped a bunch of shit into the river. Right?
They were going to poison the river. And they didn't even...
Yeah, nonchalantly.
Even the scientist characters in that movie weren't objecting to that.
No.
They were like, yeah, it's a good idea.
Did they even try roofing the piranhas? No, they didn't.
But it definitely feels like that's kind of the other thing with this movie is kind of the nature, like mankind is coming in and kind of ruining nature kind of feel where, even to like underwater as you were comparing it, where, we intrude into a new area and then disturb some creature's home.
Speaking of which,
and live to regret it.
My favorite part was where the ladies on the boat, I forgot her name. She had a pretty cool name though, wasn't she? Like, not Frankie. Like it was Fran or something. I can't remember. But they're looking for the creature, and she's on the boat and she's smoking, and then she just like flicks her fucking cigarette into the water, and then as it's going down, like sinking into the water, there's the creature, and I remember thinking like, would that not piss him off? Like, bitch, I live here. This is my house.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's almost like a sort of environmental.
I know, but
but did they even mean it that way?
I don't think so. I thought she's a good guy, Yeah. So, but I just thought it was hilarious. She's like, this good girl. She's just like flicks that butt right into the water.
Because in a modern movie, that would be like she
move,
deserves
she
what she gets because she's polluting the river. So it's like
no, horror movie rules are kind of rough. Like you do one little tiny bad thing, and it's like, nope, that's it. You deserve to get skinned alive.
Yeah, they do that with like 80s horror movies. It's like the people who get killed that. There has to be like a thing they do wrong so that you can be okay with them.
But it could be as small as like, oh, they cut off this person on the road. You deserve to die.
Which they don't do in this movie. The characters don't really do anything wrong initially. They just come in to explore to check the look for the creature, but. Right, they go there specifically to look for it, right? Because they find the.
They go in there to find rocks. Because they took out the mitt out of the rock, and then they wanted more, I guess.
Oh, they were looking for more evidence.
They were looking for more evidence, but I was like, that's pretty good shit, right? Because at some point they've been looking for more artifacts, and or I guess it's not called artifacts, whatever, more evidence of creature. And they're like, well, now we failed, and now we got to tell them that we failed. I'm like, but did you? Because that was pretty big. That was a pretty huge discovery. And on top of that, they only gave you like 4 extra dudes. Like it's not like they really made it rain. And then like, it's in the Black Lagoon. And then the guy's like, oh yes, erosion that way. And they were right, because at some point they were like, oh yeah, the rocks. And then of course they had that little snippet of one of the workers being like, well, what are you going to do with these rocks? And they have a little chuckle like, oh, uneducated man. We're going to study them, and they're going to tell us about time and composition. And I remember thinking, like, actually, I'm really glad he asked, because I didn't know either. But they were still mean.
And I also felt like a lot, like, not a lot of the movie, but like a good portion of it was just everyone shit-talking, like, the quality of the vessel that they were using to, like, get down the Amazon.
Yeah, and shit-talking the captain, too. The captain was, like, the comedy relief.
Right. But he was totally acceptable. He was good at his job. He gave him a sack full of roofies. Like, what more did they want?
Mm-hmm. I know, he just happened to have that on hand. They didn't even bring that with them.
They did not.
Which is also King Kong, by the way, because when they drug King Kong, they just happen to have that on the ship. They don't bring it to actually.
King Kong was like in the 30s, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's 20 years later they remade it. Okay.
Mm-hmm. But they're all. I mean, it's pretty. That one's pretty iconic, obviously. Like it definitely. I don't know if I would say they remade it, but they definitely. It's definitely influenced by it in that general way, where it's the monster who wants the woman, and then there's the guys trying to rescue her, and he's not really evil per se, just
but he's wrong.
doing his thing. It's nature.
It's just doing his thing.
Nature clashing with civilization kind of thing.
I did. I read a couple of articles about The Shape of Water, which I was so interested in, like, adding it to the conversation today. But apparently, Del Toro was he wanted to make sure the monster was really sexy, and like he wanted to make sure that he had a really nice butt. And apparently, like, he would carry a picture of a monster's butt and then show it to his friends and family. Like, is that a good butt? Do we like this butt? Is this the butt? And yeah. And then I went out there trying to look for a picture of the creature's butt. I couldn't find it, so I have to rewatch The Shape of Water.
From this movie?
No, from Shape of Water.
Oh, from Shape of Water, yeah.
I mean, I saw this dude's butt the entire time. It was fine. It was okay.
I think he had a little tail, didn't he?
Did he have a tail? I don't think
like
so.
Like a little nub.
A little nub?
No, maybe.
T, did he have a nub?
I honestly don't know. I wasn't paying
You're
attention
going
to
to
the
break
butt.
the tie, okay.
But his hands were definitely kind of floppy. There were a few moments where he was like grabbing things or scraping, and you could see the rubber fingers.
Like kind of being pushed, getting pushed back on. But you know, from a distance, it looked pretty good. You know.
But they did the cool thing they did that's
the
better than other monster movies is like his breathing. He would kind of open his mouth and his gills would sort of open and move and stuff.
Cool.
Which, you know, a lot of those monsters back then didn't really have, you know, moving parts on their makeup.
And I really dug that, you know, we said how they didn't reveal his full face until like 20, 30 minutes into the movie. And I thought it was pretty neat because it was underwater. Mm-hmm. And then they give you like full frontal face, you know. So it's, I thought it was pretty great. And you get to see him in his element in the water.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they also had two different actors playing the Gilman as well. So you had one who was doing like all the diving scenes, who would hold his breath underwater for like 4 minutes doing his shoots. Then you had another actor who was playing the creature whenever they were on land. And you know, I thought like this was an interesting movie to like kind of like do research on, because there's a lot of information out there about it. And like one of the main design elements for the actual creature was based off of the Academy Award of all things.
That's right.
And I saw that and I was like, wait.
And they started adding gills to it, and yeah.
Yeah, I heard that there was an initial design that got completely scrapped.
Really?
That there was a completely different version also of the creature, but that I don't think that they said there aren't pictures of it, I think, but just that they had initially made something and then just said nope and scrapped it and
kind of
restarted.
Yeah. And I'm still wondering, like, I really couldn't find any reason why the creature from the Black Lagoon is so iconic and all sorts of, like, sort of, you know, tiki fandom. I guess it's just, you know, a creature from the water, but that's a man that you can sort of have sex with. Is that it?
The movie is
that what's going on?
Well, also the movie, it doesn't actually have any like Pacific Islander like connection
at all.
Which it's just really like the water, beach.
It's a man fish that you can have sex with. That's what it is, right? I mean, that's what we're getting at.
I mean, we just didn't know it at the time.
I thought it was like,
know?
It's just, you know, like mermaids, but also mermaids are what, like they're fish you can have sex with, sort of.
I mean, I've seen it happen in movies. You know, that was one of the common questions about mermaids. So yes, you can fuck, you know, the creature and also mermaids.
Well, and of course, the question is, would you have sex with a mermaid if it's the bottom part's a fish and the top part is a human, or the top part is a fish and the bottom part is a human?
It's like the Futurama question when he's running away from Atlantis. It's like, why couldn't she be the other kind of mermaid? Because he found out that she was going to lay eggs and he had to fertilize them. Oh, that's disgusting.
I guess the creature from the Black Lagoon would be top part fish and bottom part human. Really.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. I mean, otherwise, it's not very threatening. Oh, yeah, but it was a really neat movie. I enjoyed it. You know, I didn't think it dragged at all. I thought it was pretty...
No,
it had a really good momentum.
It's like an hour and 20-minute movie
Yeah.
or something like that.
It doesn't exhaust you too much. It's over when it needs to be over.
Yeah, and it doesn't do any sort of like slow beginning or intro. They just kind of start right up and just, you just start right into the story.
But you know what? It doesn't make sense that why did he kill like the helpers at the beginning of the movie? Remember how he comes onto land, he goes into the tent, he kills a bunch of dudes, and then he leaves.
Yeah.
But then again, he's like paying a lot of attention when they're removing that mitt that kind of looks like one of his people. Is that maybe the reason that he's upset that they removed that mitt?
Does he see that? Do they show him seeing
Well, when they take it out of the wall, I think they show him kind of like...
He's around.
He's like his... that's when they're doing a lot of the paw thing.
I think it's just also them being there. Just being in that area. He's protecting his environment or something, Oh,
there you go.
Yeah, so it's either territorial or he saw that as them like digging up a grave site, basically.
Like, this area is sacred. How dare you? Okay.
In the previous podcast, I think I said this didn't have sequels, but it does actually have sequels.
Like two of them, right?
But they're so not up
popular
to the level of
really?
the other ones
They're really
that
bad.
I think they're like not considered. Plus, the sequel is called like The Revenge of the Creature or Return of the Creature or something like that. But they don't use Creature from the Black Lagoon in the title. It's just Creature. So from the title, you can't even tell necessarily that it's a sequel.
Do they get any further with the ladies or no?
I think it's a kind of a rehash. The second movie, basically,
Same shit?
is the same kind of story again. Oh, no, you know what the second one is? Is that they capture it and they bring it to America and then it breaks out and runs amok like King Kong.
Like King Kong? Oh, I think Joe heard it.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure they bring him to like an aquarium.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
They basically bring him from the Amazon to the States and put him on display. Basically, yeah, King Kong again.
My God, they didn't even try.
Well,
yeah, that was also Clint Eastwood's first movie too.
Oh wow, the second Creature one. Oh wow,
I have to check that shit out now.
I forget. I don't know. I've seen it, but ages ago on TV.
I have not. It would have been weird if I saw the sequels, but not the original.
I've seen it in 3D. By the way, this is a 3D
You were
movie.
saying that when you were a kid, you would watch that in 3D, huh?
It's one of the early 3D movies. And you can't even barely tell because I think it's such an early 3D movie that they hadn't developed those cheesy shots where things come straight at the camera. They weren't really doing that. And so it's not really obvious that it's a 3D movie. But I
wouldn't have guessed.
They, back in the day, they put it on TV and you could get the red and blue glasses and watch it in 3D.
That's pretty
Which
neat.
kind of worked okay, but also not really.
And you just watch this on your TV at home?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. It was iffy. It sort of worked, but didn't really.
I got you. Okay. Tia, how old were you when you watched this movie for the first time?
I was a kid when I first saw it.
I was 40.
But honestly, I think I saw the Monster Squad before I saw any of the actual Universal monster movies. So that was my introduction to the creature. Now, granted, it's a likeness of the creature because of rights issues and whatnot. But the Gilman definitely has been a pretty big figure in pop culture. I even remember he appeared on The Munsters during its first season on one of the episodes as well.
Yeah. Yeah, the Monster Squad, definitely. He looks pretty much exactly like the movie version in that, too. It's really good. I think that's Rick Baker did the makeup for that. In that. Oh, and which reminds me, too, I was looking at some stuff. They were going to do a remake of The Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Really?
In the 80s, I think. And then it never happened.
Well, there's a lot of similar 80s creature movies.
Something else, I don't know if it was Jaws. Jaws came out in the late 70s, but I don't know if it was Jaws or something else, but some other water movie that was popular came out, and they pretty much scrapped the remake because of it.
There you go.
Well, those talks also resurfaced for the Dark Universe whenever they made that last Mummy movie, and then it completely bombed, and then everyone was like, all right, that's that, basically.
Yeah, the Universal Dark Universe, which they've been trying to... They've made, I think, 4 attempts at launching that. The one they, of course, never want to talk about is the first one is the werewolf movie with Benicio del Toro. Where they that's like the initial Dark Universe launch, which failed, and then they tried it with Dracula, the one with the guy from the Hobbit movie, which failed.
Was that the Dracula Untold one?
Dracula Untold was the next attempt, and then of course the Tom Cruise Mummy movie was the other attempt. I think there might be one other.
That's nuts. I didn't realize these were all sort of connected. I just thought they were separate flops.
Yeah, no.
It's just one big flop.
They've been trying to create an interconnected... Because technically, we think of Marvel as the interconnected movie universe, but technically Universal is the original because they did it with the character of Van Helsing, and the same actor who plays Van Helsing plays that same kind of character in Dracula and in another movie. And then, of course, with the Abbott and Costello movies, they started crossing over. Actually, even before Abbott and Costello, maybe they started crossing over the characters where they would meet each other. And so they had the first interconnected universe, technically.
There you go.
But, have horribly failed at trying to create a modern one. But I guess we could also, The Shape of Water is basically the new Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Finally got some. I liked the movie. There's a lot of people that didn't enjoy it, but I enjoyed it.
Mm.
A buddy of ours really didn't like it because she didn't think it was hot enough.
Not enough monster human sex.
Not enough.
Yeah, not enough. That was the problem.
Yeah, she didn't think the nudity was good enough either, I guess.
Oh, and the other was Beauty and the Beast was the other big connection.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. Yes, the sexualizing the monster, but then of course in Beauty and the Beast he switches over back to human, sort of normalizing the story, but not with Creature.
Yeah, no, he doesn't become a prince or anything like that.
Oh, he's a prince, all right. So that's Creature from the Black Lagoon. I enjoyed it. I might watch the sequels, especially if like Clint Eastwood is in them.
Yeah.
A young Clint.
Yeah, I don't think he was actually credited, but he is in the
movie. Like a lot or like a little? Like, should I bother?
I can't remember, to be honest, because it's been such a long time since I actually saw any of these.
I was looking for the sequel after watching this just again recently, and I couldn't really find it streaming. I mean, like, it's probably out there, but I did a really quick search, and it wasn't sort of immediately there. But it's probably on like Amazon.
Maybe Mr. Eastwood had it scrubbed from the internet.
Yeah, it's weirdly not nearly as popular or available as the original. And then the third one is sort of even harder to find.
Well, damn it.
What is the... I don't even know what's the third one even is called, but...
No clue.
But it's an original. It's an originator for monster movies.
Well, after you kept knocking it for being exactly like King Kong, it's kind of hard to call it.
Well, that whole pool of movies, the Universal, and
I'm sure somebody like walked into the studio and was like, "All right, guys, think King Kong, but small enough to actually have sex with."
But it's and it's the mid '50s, and so that's sort of the tail end of the heyday of the Universal monster movies. Yeah, because those were mostly '30s and then '40s.
You're right. I kind of forgot about that.
It was kind of, getting to the end of it.
Like I said, I was very surprised that I really liked the story. I thought they had some eye candy for the ladies too, so that was nice. That was a lot of attractive scientists. They don't usually make him that cute, but
No, definitely not. That was also like the age of the bullet bras as well. That was a topic of discussion when we were watching it last night.
It was
great.
it was definitely more sexy than any of the other. Because really, if you think about it, all of the other Universal movies,
They don't talk about that at all. Yeah,
but
it's
there's
just
not.
implied, yeah.
But it's also not. There's not skin in those movies,
Right.
You know?
And even in this one, like when they're first introducing the characters, and there's David and shoot, I can't remember her name, and they're meeting up with
It's
Kay.
Kay.
That's right. And they're hanging out with that professor that's leading the expedition or whatever, and they're like, yes, he's a. I don't know. He just made comments about David being so good looking, and it's like, and how like the scientists don't usually look like that, and it's like, Jesus, man, calm down.
It was like they were like battling for the alpha position.
They
on the
were.
Show. So like, who was the more manly man?
I should have gone into the sciences, guys.
Missed opportunity.
Man. Oh well. Well, yeah, I enjoyed it. It was good. I finally watched The Creature from the Black Lagoon. That's a very long title.
Yeah.
Yep. And then after that, you can watch Humanoids from the Deep on Shredder.
Is that what we're doing next?
Is that the one with the frogs trying to mate?
I mean, I wouldn't say they're frogs per se.
They're kind of like creatures from the Black Lagoon, or like the creatures from underwater.
Do they have frog face?
You're thinking of Hell Comes the Frogs.
That's what I'm thinking about. Shoot.
With the Roddy Piper.
Roddy Piper.
Yeah. Which is also an entertaining movie. But no, that's not what we're doing next week.
Oh, whose turn is it next week? Is it back to you?
Yeah, it's back to me. And like initially I was like, we're just gonna knock out all the creature features, but I'm like, no, we gotta mix things up a bit. So next week we're gonna be talking Aqua Slash, which came out in 2019, directed by Renaud Gauthier, which is set in a water park with. Well, I don't want to like spoil the entire movie, but let's say people fall into some traps with the slides.
All right, we did watch Piranha 3DD.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty fun, and then Joe and I actually did watch Action Park, the movie.
Oh, the documentary about
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Funny.
And that's surprisingly scary.
I could have sworn like they had another like Action Park movie like within the last 10 years too.
That's what I was under the impression that the Aqua Slash movie, that there were two movies that came out, and Aqua Slash is one of them, that came out within like a couple of years of each other that have that similar idea. But I can't think of what the other movie actually is. And I've seen Aqua Slash. I'm going to rewatch it, but I saw it a couple of years ago when it came out. But this other movie I never saw. So I don't know. But it's possible that the other movie I'm thinking of is actually a short. It's possible that it might be like a 10 or 20 minute long thing.
Okay, hold on. I'm looking on IMDb really quick to see if I can find it. Looks like it's Action Point was the other one.
Is that the one with Johnny Knoxville?
Yes.
Oh,
that actually looks pretty cute.
And is it the similar idea with the water park and people?
It's basically Action Park, and it's him as an old man retelling the story of how he used to run this park to his granddaughter. But when he was running the park, it was his daughter that was helping him, and all these super dangerous rides. And of course, it's like the Johnny Knoxville movie where it's just stunts.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember hearing about it because his movie is based on the documentary, on the actual place, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think, from what I understand, I don't know if it's true, but from what I understand, Aqua Slash is also based on this part, that the person who made that movie was aware of the Action Park place and sort of came up, that was sort of the genesis for their movie, but that might be wrong.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure they just sat down and you're like, what setting we haven't had for a horror movie? A water park. And that was the selling point. That's all they need.
And with traps in water slides.
I have to admit, the Piranha 3D like, there were some really. I liked. I mean, the David Hasselhoff part of it was really great, especially where there's a kid asking for help, and he keeps like looking at him, but then changing his mind, and he does it like 3 times before he's like, fine," and then he saves the kid, but then the kid still dies anyway at the end, which was really funny. But the amount of the amount of gratuitous nudity actually got pretty too over the top, and I thought Piranha 2D was bad enough, but no, it was even worse.
And it's also very strange that there's literally 2 different listings for that movie, and one is Piranha 3DD, which makes sense, and then there's Piranha DD, which doesn't make sense. But logically, they're like, well, it's not the 3D version, so we'll take the 3 out of the title, and it'll just be DD.
It made no sense.
It's like, what? Okay. It's like, I think we can understand. I think we can give them a pass. We understand that it was a 3D movie, and that's where the title comes from. We don't. Need
I was still really confused.
We don't need a second version of the movie with a different title. But it
was fun.
But it was good. Yeah. Although I gotta say, I think I liked the 3D better.
The middle one?
Mm-hmm.
I thought 3D was better than Double D, but
and the original
Double D was good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go with the middle one as well. I liked Elizabeth Shue.
Yeah, that I thought was the best of the series. Was the 3D with Elizabeth Shue.
Yeah.
And there's a.
But more importantly, you got your land piranha.
Yeah, definitely. the alluded to land piranha.
I was very upset that it never came back. I watched the end of the movie. I was like, wait a minute.
I know
I feel like there's something missing.
Yeah, that we're back on Piranha. But
sorry, we're back on Piranha.
But no, seriously.
Yeah, it's funny because I actually streamed that before Humanoids from the Deep. So when I saw that creature pop up for the first time, I'm like, oh god, here we go again. I'm gonna go on a rant.
I was I liked the first Piranha movie, but I was a little annoyed that. Because when that scene happened, I was like, oh, this is cool. They're actually going to introduce these kind of weird
mutations,
animated piranhas that run around. That's cool. And then you never see them again. I was like, what? That's it? We don't even get to see it once again?
And it seemed like a pretty substantial thing that happened in evolution there. Or science meddling with evolution.
It was kind of a ripoff, but but I gave them a pass. You can tell they wanted that to be. Yeah, they wanted it to be a creature in the movie, but they just probably couldn't afford to have more shots with the animation.
True. They're like, well, that goes our budget.
Which also really reminded me, just to go on another tangent, the movie The Gate.
With those little guys,
those awesome little animated demons that run around. That's what it kind of reminded me of.
Agreed. What's that, Joe?
The Gate.
That's the one that freaks me out the most.
When you were a kid, it freaked you out the most?
Yeah. Dude, the dead dog and everything. That part's creepy.
You want to come in?
The guy coming out of the walls and
the construction worker in the walls.
It's why I don't dig holes anymore.
That's why he says that's why he doesn't dig holes, because of that movie. He won't come on camera. You don't want to come on
Joe's
camera?
talking about The Gate.
All right.
Yeah, we got to figure out. We should do The Gate. We got to figure out.
Figure out a fear that ties into The Gate.
Definitely a good movie.
Maybe just a whole month of movies that Joe's afraid of.
Joe's personal fears.
Joe's personal fears.
That would actually not be bad, though, to do.
Yeah, honestly.
To do
honestly, that is something we could probably do.
We could do each do we could have
personal fears,
our own personal fears for a month. That's actually not a bad idea.
Okay, but you guys go first.
We already did one of mine.
We'll add it to the list.
We did one of mine, which is fear of clowns already.
Oh, really?
Although not anymore.
Anymore.
I found clowns to be genuinely creepy when I was a kid. Real clowns, I was not okay with.
Gotcha. Okay, that's not something to look into for when we run out of stuff.
I mean, John, you say that now, but you've never had a clown chasing you with a machete like the last circus.
I know. Well, yeah. I just the image of them enough is enough to creep me
Like
out.
caked on makeup, and you're like, that's a grown man.
The weird frowny crying.
The weird
face,
frowny,
you know.
yeah. I don't
The
really-
acting overly happy. It's all wrong.
It's all wrong.
Yep.
But
And you just know if they weren't a clown, they'd be a murderer.
I'd be less scared of the creature from the Black Lagoon as a kid than a clown.
Yeah, he just wants to make out a little.
Totally. He's just looking for love. Why can't the creature in the Black Lagoon love too?
Can't you see he's the last one of his kind?
Totally.
He has to
What
cross
is it so
species.
wrong?
Speaking of crossing, did you guys hear that an orca successfully mated with a dolphin?
Really?
Yeah.
And did they have a
Yeah, they
offspring?
did.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Crazy, right? Like Cancun or some shit.
So we're gonna have some killer
Yeah,
dolphins.
yeah.
Killer dolphins.
That's how that works, right?
Oh, man. Well, there's a horror movie waiting to happen for sure. I mean, because aren't like dolphins already way too like horny?
Well, there's the orca horror movie.
I've never seen that. I've never seen so many.
Orca is basically just a ripoff of Jaws, but with killer whales.
Mm.
And that was before people. That was back in the day when people didn't know that killer whales don't harm people.
It's right in the name. It's killer.
In fact, I think there's been like story similar to dolphins. There's been stories of killer whales actually helping people that were stuck in the water.
Well, that's nice.
But there's like helpful sea monsters,
Oh,
just like the creature from the Black Lagoon.
he wasn't helpful though. Like he wasn't
No.
rescuing anybody.
No, he wasn't really helping anybody.
He was like a kangaroo just drowning people.
And as a
I mean, you say that, but he was probably trying to steal Cave and save her from the alpha males and, comparing their dick
Yeah,
sizes.
like you don't need to deal with the patriarchy. You can come live with me in my cave.
exactly, these guys will never respect
Let
you.
me drag you to my cave.
I gotta say, as a totally random thing too, her body position when he's carrying her, the way that her arms are kind of out and she's like bent backwards, like was kind of crazy. Like she's like in this fully bent back, awkward position.
I must have been uncomfortable.
Oh, I actually have a note about that.
Really?
Yeah. You're talking about the scene in the cave.
when he's carrying her. Yeah,
Okay, so basically what happened in that moment was obviously like wearing this suit, the eye slits for like the mask were like an inch like below the eye,
Oh,
like,
okay.
actual eyesight. So when you were wearing the suit, you really didn't have that much vision. So when he was actually carrying Julia's character, like he had accidentally bumped into a piece of like the rocks on the set, and it like clocked her out basically. So that's why she's like limp
Oh,
as
shit.
like she's getting carried. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Thanks. I didn't read that.
it was actually kind of cool and made sense the way that he was really graceful in the water, and then out of the water he would just kind of stomp around.
Well, also he was drugged
Yeah. He would be the Frankenstein walk.
because he was
basically.
drugged.
Mhm.
I'm like, that's how they got him to be all creepy. He's just really out of it.
Interesting.
They had to roofie the whole Amazon. Well, I mean, I know just a section, but still.
And he didn't. I'm pretty sure the creature from the Black Lagoon did not get a Abbott and Costello crossover, right? I think he was just
right?
Dracula and Frankenstein and the Mummy, maybe.
He was pretty
Yeah,
cute. Like he kept hiding behind like sea plants while like she would like, do her little routine in the water.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, he's
He's
just being a
stalking
creep.
her.
He's stalking her in the water, just like people. They're just like us.
Yeah, except we don't have like that background music playing every time we're doing that.
You
That gets
don't.
repeated like 120 times throughout the movie.
Oh my god!
Thanks, studio execs. That was a great decision.
I want a spear gun now. I bet they're fun.
Go spearfishing.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Well, that was Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Kind of wish I'd prepared a little more.
Well, I mean, it's like
I read articles, okay? It's just fairly straightforward.
it's a pretty straightforward movie. It's like there's not a whole lot going on in it, you know. I mean, there is, like you said, the Lindsay Ellis we were talking about made a video about Creature from the Black Lagoon along with other movies and kind of analyzing that.
I thought that bit was going to go longer in this video, to tell you the truth. And then it just kind of like sunk like a roofie in the Amazon.
Well, you know, the point being, like, but the thing, like I'm saying though, is that like in terms of the content of the movie, it's pretty
really
straightforward.
yeah.
Like you can kind of analyze things and look into things in that way. Which is true, but like in terms of the content, it's a really straightforward story. It's like
it's cool though,
but
yeah,
it's good, but it's like it's sort of
I feel like the same thing happened when we reviewed Haunt. We're like, well, there it is, guys.
I know it's like when we talked about House, there's crazy amounts of stuff to talk about in a movie like House or like the Jodorowsky movie or things like that.
There's just so many Easter eggs or so many little tidbits to like sink your teeth into. So,
but in terms of the sort of analyzing it, it's like I don't know. We recommend watch that video if you want to.
Yeah.
See a little analysis about movies like this. It's Lindsay Ellis, and she does video essays about movies and talks about My Monster Boyfriend is the name of it, and it's. But also it ties into a modern thing. If we want to talk about it a little more, not just analyzing sort of historical things about that story that the movie tells, but also just in the modern age with fan fiction and shipping, as they call it, which shipping is like is a thing I learned about where it's like fan fiction. But
wait, you didn't know what that was?
You create relationships. It's like pop culture relationships, but you do like fan fiction about it. So it's like like writing fan fiction about like Bella and what's his name from like Twilight would be like.
I see. Gotcha.
Yeah, and like that, but people do it because it's the internet. People do it. People get weird about it, and so then it starts to get into Creature from the Black Lagoon and stuff like that, and like fan fiction and
you mean sex?
Stuff,
let's just say sex
stuff about
sex
with monsters and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
and how exactly it would work out. Because I mean, you can't write about it if you can't get specific.
Yeah, all the fanfic is about whether or not you like fish sticks.
That's gross, T. All right. Well, I mean, we said it, so good. I'm glad we said it.
Yeah. All right. All right. Well, with that being said, that will do it for us here tonight on Handle with Scare. This has been episode 64, talking about Creature from the Black Lagoon and
who's gonna get sick?
All the odds and ends that go along with it.
And
throwing roofies in the Amazon.
And will he ever find love in the sequels?
Yeah.
Will he ever get laid? Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know. Or it just might get to the point where he'll turn into one of the humanoids from the deep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and
it's a dark path.
Well, of course, we know he does find love in The Shape of Water.
That's true. He finally gets it on.
And he only has to have Michael Shannon be mean to him a bit.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel like a lot of people have to go through that anyway.
And Michael Shannon, let's just to bring it around, Bug, Michael Shannon. 6 degrees of separation for Michael Shannon and the Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Perfect. So we'll I'll link to the YouTube video that you guys had mentioned. I'll also have a music video that ties into Creature from the Black Lagoon that my friend Grindhouse had posted about during our watch party last night. It's like 7 minutes. I haven't had a time to fully watch it yet, but it does also start with the Big Bang, much like Creature from the Black Lagoon. So I'll link both of those in the show notes so you guys can go check that out if you want to. But in the meantime, we'll be back next week talking about Aqua Slash. But outside of that, of course, if you guys are looking to contact the show, you can follow us on Twitter at @HandleWithScare. You can find all of our video content on YouTube at @HandleWithScarePod. And you can email the show at handlewithscarepod@gmail.com. Until next time, enjoy your weeks, and we'll see you guys back in a week. Y'all take care.